Everybody scramble. Everybody run. And we are live. We are live. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Horsemanship Clinic. This is Macy. That's Casey out there in the back with the brace. And this is the owner of the horse. This is owner Benson. We're so thankful that the Losick family let us use him for this clinic. This is Benson. We'll go ahead and walk him up here a little bit, Casey. Limp him up here just a minute. So Casey is out of commission for a little while here, so her horse gets to learn horsemanship while she is working at getting better. Awesome. Cool. So I'm going to warm this horse up a little bit. Macy can talk to you guys. She'll be reading comments. I'll be out here.
Yes. I will.
If somebody wants to watch the time for me, let me know when 6 o'clock will get started. He's got drift on his head.
He did?
Yeah.
Aw.
Saw Chelsea was on. How's it going, Chelsea?
Chelsea is? Oh, it was Grace.
Chelsea Dahlberg,
Grace.
Chelsea Adams.
Hello.
Remember Vegas?
From Canada. Chris.
From Vegas?
Chris Miller's from Canada.
Hey, Chris.
How are you, Chris? That's crazy, all the way from Canada. Huh?
So Benson usually starts out a little frisky, so you guys get to see a little fresh horse. I'm probably going to walk him elsewhere before I jump on her by the door. Cold air up his butt.
Okay. Hello, Heather. How are you? It's cold here. It's freezing here.
He's got a cat inside.
Coffee's here to keep us warm.
See you guys!
Bye.
See you, Dave. Nice shot there. Very
Hey,
good.
Doug.
And Sam, you're sharp. Light. Progress.
Your dad's on.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, Dad.
Thanks for supporting the stream today.
Chair. His dad. He's on watching. Alright, he's gonna warm up just a little bit.
Yeah, it's cold here too.
Yeah, it's freezing here.
It's so cold by the way.
It's so cool by the door. I should say hi, Your Highness.
Can't wait till this summer when we can open up the big doors and not have to like freeze and we get a better signal in here and everything.
Your dad said don't fall off.
Don't worry, I got her. I got a hold of her.
I got a hold
Just
of
the
her.
horsemanship. Grab the top of the saddle horn. Don't grab underneath. Push yourself away from the saddle horn. Do not get bucked off.
Is it clear for you guys today? A lot clearer than the last time?
We were a little worried about the stream quality today because there's a storm coming in. Can't have Kelly whispering back.
If you hear that little whisper, it's my mom.
Little whispers, Kelly.
It's Kelly. You can see clearly? Yep, they can.
Everybody hear it clear? See clear?
Can you guys hear clear?
Audio's good, video's good.
There's a vacuum going in the background right now, but he'll be done in just a second. So
Okay.
if you can't hear like 100%, he'll be done in like a few minutes.
Where's the edge of the frame? Am I the edge right here?
Oh, yep, you're on the edge. They said still a little blurry.
It's a little blurry. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do about that.
We'll try our hardest to keep the service going.
We're going to try to save this in high quality and then upload it to YouTube afterwards. So you guys should be able to watch it in high quality on YouTube. If you saw the last clinic, we did like the last 30 minutes or so. Live on YouTube, we put it up. All the chat and the conversation we had at the very end, we put that up.
You can hear okay, but a bit blurry.
Okay.
But we'll upload it to YouTube, so it's like very clear.
Yeah,
HD.
that should be in high quality, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yep.
What do you guys think? You guys enjoyed the last clinic? Everybody have fun with that? I know we had a good time with it. It turned out to look good.
Hi, Dad.
Dad's watching?
Hi, Dad.
Hey, Dad. So this thing will probably start, we'll start right at 6 o'clock, 5:55 by my watch. That clock's a little faster, by 5:50. We're gonna start right at 6 o'clock. Probably we'll ride a little bit. I'll talk a little bit about what I want horsemanship to look like, what the class should be about to me. I think a lot.
All right, we're back on.
Back on?
Sorry, guys. Our little service went out a minute.
We
should be good now.
Hopefully. Move the box a little bit. Still one bar, but we'll try. That's nice. Yeah, I think a lot of people get hung up on the little details. They get distracted in horsemanship. They kind of forget what the class is really about, which is, for us at our level, we have all pattern stuff. So it's about maneuvering your horse, right? Being able to maneuver your horse around, do a good job.
You should be done in a minute.
It's about maneuvering your horse through a class. You'll be done.
Okay.
So it's all about how you get your horse around, for me anyway. It's my opinion that I do not want to see people just perched on their horses. I want to see people that can ride. So we'll go over that a little bit. We'll run through a couple like pattern elements. For us, we don't practice a lot of patterns or anything, so we won't worry too much about it. Was that good for everybody in the last clinic? We did a little Q&A video afterwards, a little follow-up video. We had a lot of fun with that. I liked how that looked. I liked how that felt. Be easier than answering questions at the end of this because there's just a big delay between the comments and when they come through, and it's hard to have a conversation, at least until this summer when we can get the big doors open and get a better signal in here.
Why don't we do that?
Oh, it's back on. It's back on.
Back on?
Yep.
It might do that, guys. We got a winter storm coming in here, so cell signal's not so good. Like I said, the full quality video will be uploaded to YouTube afterwards.
It's almost 5 minutes to 6.
What's that?
5 minutes to 6.
5 minutes to 6? Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Good.
You want to tell them that we'll answer their questions more in the...
Yep. So we'll do the Q&A video. That'll be up tomorrow. We'll probably take questions right up until about noon tomorrow, and then we'll answer them. I think that worked out really well.
That's the end of your frame right there.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Good boy. So we introduced Benson a little bit in the last video. Little, is he 8 or 9, Casey?
He'll be 8. He'll be 9.
He'll be 9 this year.
Yeah.
9-year-old gelding. He's been top 10 at the Congress before. Really cool horse. He's learning the horsemanship with me. I don't know if he did it before or not. I'm gonna guess not much. This horse, he's got a big personality. So we really enjoy him. He's a lot of fun to have around. He's not one of those like deadheads that just kind of hangs out. He's the only horse I've ever seen trot circles in his stall. Never. I've never seen a horse just trot a circle, an entire circle in his stall. But I mean, if you see the way his horse jogs, it's really easy for him to trot a circle in his stall. So you guys are getting to see a little bit, kind of the middle stages of a horsemanship horse for me. We've gotten him through a class once, haven't we? You show once? You didn't? Okay. So this should be the first year. So we could probably get him through a class right now if we had to. He's not quite where I want him to be for a finished horse. If we're going to try to make a run at the Congress, we're hoping to have him ready this year. Casey shows the novice youth 14-18 events, so this is a good little horse for that. And was he top 10 at the Congress in the pleasure, like the 13 under or something?
It was a 14.
14-18 pleasure? Yeah, regular youth though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. So when he was younger, he was quite the pleasure horse. And you've had a lot of success in the pleasure with him.
Yeah.
And you showed the showmanship with him for the first time. Your first time too, right? Last year in Midland?
Yeah.
Awesome. So this will be a newer team for next year, as soon as she heals up. This year, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
This year. Perfect. So, what time is it, ladies? Should be about time,
55.
right?
The bike start now if you'd like.
All right. Cool. So, again, this is Benson. I'm Jeremy. We'll run through some horsemanship stuff. So I have been doing this for, 11 years now or so. We've had multiple Congress top 10s. Had a lot of success in the paint stuff before I came to quarter horses. Horsemanship is one of my personal favorite classes. I love it. If you've ever talked to one of my girls that's done horsemanship with me, it's fast and it's quick, and we do things like that, right? So I want to see a horsemanship class that moves. So for me personally, the only way that we can add degree difficulty to the class is if we push the envelope a little bit and we drive our horse through it, right? So for our girls, the way that we want to do horsemanship is we want to go out there and really push it hard. You want to turn your music down, just touch me?
Yep.
Want to push it hard and try to get a lot of flow through our patterns, right? I think one of the biggest things that I hate to see in a horsemanship class is something that goes fast for one part of it, and then you see a slow part, and then there's like a long pause, and maybe another fast piece. You kind of have to pay attention to your horse. If your horse goes out there and he can do a fast extension of his canter or a big extended trot into a big stop, but then he turns slow, you have to slow it down, for me personally. So the whole thing needs to be about the same speed. I don't want to see you go out there and be 5 miles an hour in one part of the pattern and 3 miles an hour in another part, because I don't think that's a good way to go about it. It doesn't look right to me. My showmanship's the same way. Pretty much any pattern class needs to have an even flow. Okay? For this horse in particular, he can get a little slow in his patterns. His jog is super, super slow. He wants to rock up and back. It kind of comes from his pleasure background. So we have to pay attention to that. And if we push this horse and make him go fast, he gets upset about it. You'll probably see some of that today. So he's not quite sure what to think about this horsemanship stuff. He's kind of learned it. So we'll kind of take it easy on him. I'll show you how hard I can push him. I'll let him tell me what he can and can't do. And that, I think, to me, as a horse trainer, I want to pay attention to what my horse tells me he can do, right? So I want, like you saw in the pleasure clinic, I want my horse to be soft and supple. I want him to give up all his parts and pieces. For me, not every horse will be a high-end Western pleasure horse, right? They're not all going to be a Congress top 10 winner in the pleasure, because that is the elite of the elite, right? That's the top 1%. So Western pleasure as a whole, the concepts and the foundations that go into it, the being balanced, the having good rhythm, the having a solid stride, to self-carriage, all those things carry over into our horsemanship so that our horse can carry us around and stay balanced through these maneuvers. So for me, Western pleasure, on the whole, is about getting your horse in an athletic position, okay? Horsemanship is the art of doing something in specific spots through that athletic position, okay? So this horse has a great foundation in the pleasure, so he's got to learn now how to be accurate, right? Western pleasure, when we show the rail and they call for the lope, everybody's kind of seen that class where they call for the lope and everybody's just kind of walking and they're setting up and they're doing their thing and they're checking on their horse and there's no big rush, right? In a horsemanship class, it's at the cone, right? So at cone A, do this. So there is a rush, there is a sense of urgency there. So for this horse, it's a little bit newer to him to have that sense of urgency, to have to call on him to do something at a specific spot, okay? So we want to go through and have our horse be responsive and be accurate in everything that he does. So I want to have a horse that will be willing to give up his parts and pieces when I ask for him and where I ask for him, right? Western pleasure is about the quality of the transition. Horsemanship is about where it happens. So we want to push our horse around. Again, this is my warm-up. You saw me kind of trotting him around a little bit earlier. I want to push his hips around. I want to find out what I can and can't do, and I'm going to let him kind of tell me what he wants to do for the day, okay? So right there, I pushed him over. I felt a little bit of braciness out of my ribs. So he kind of got tense on me. I'm going to push him around. So in these clinics, I don't want to bring out the most finished of the finish and show you what it's supposed to look like. when you go into Congress, right? I want to show you what happens when you take your horse at home and you work with it yourself and it messes up, right? It doesn't do you guys any good to show you what a finished ultra broke horse looks like, because what were the stages that went into that, right? It wasn't all just pretty and your horse going out there and just knocking it out, right? There were a lot of rough patches through there. And I want to show you guys what that is, right? That's the advantage of these clinics, and I think that's going to help you out more, is working with your horse at home and what it should look like, and to see that we go through the same stuff every single day, right? We push our horses hard. We try to find the limits of what they're capable of doing. And this horse for sure, he's a 9-year-old pleasure horse. He's been doing this a long time. He's going to tell me what his limits are, right? And I want you guys to see that. So, and I'll show you how I work through that and what my job as his coach is, right? We talked before on Chrome about how it's about having a horse that's a willing participant. So when this horse tells me no, and he wants to have a discussion, I want to show you guys how that looks and what happens after that. So hopefully you can see a little bit of that, and we'll get to talk about some horsemanship. So with that being said, this is my warm-up. I want to make sure my parts and pieces are broke loose. I want to have the horse that gives up his shoulders real easy, gives up his ribs. You're going to see me push every horse around and do lots of stuff with him. So I'm going to bring my shoulders back across. I'm going to push over here. I want to get him warmed up. It's a cold, chilly day here in Michigan. I want to get him warmed up, get his muscles loosened up. Every horse, every athlete's going to start out a little bit stiff. I want to make sure that he's really soft through everything. I put him in draws today. He's in draws in a little port because I want to be able to rub and roll and mash. And I'll talk a little bit about how I drive him to the bit. For me, a horsemanship class, if you're not in the driver's seat, you are behind the 8 ball. So the second you become a passenger, and that's probably true of any class, the second you become a passenger, you're in trouble, okay? You are not pushing to win that class, okay? So I want all my riders, and Casey can attest to this, that we want to push and we want to drive through the class, right, Casey?
Yeah.
You've got to be in the driver's seat. So you're going to talk about that a lot, that we want to make sure that we are asking our horse to do something and giving him a job. And I think that was one of the questions that somebody had asked too, was they had a young horse that's going down the rail and it lost its focus or whatever. And I said, give it a bigger job, right? If I want to keep weird thoughts from creeping in this horse's head, I'm going to give him a lot to think about underneath him, right? If he's going around and he's thinking about dinner or he's thinking about going back to the stall or whatever, I'm going to give him a little bit bigger job. I want him to work hard. If he's working hard, he's probably going to think on my terms. He's probably going to listen to me. Okay, so I tell people all the time, the biggest defense to a distracted horse, to a horse that likes to get goofy, is to go out there and make sure that your horse has a big job to do right here with me. Okay, he's got to listen to me. He's got to be with me right here. If he gets to where he's not thinking about me, I'm going to give him something to think about with my feet or my hands. He's got to focus. So the best defense in that situation is a good offense and get ahead of your horse's thought process. Okay? Do not ride behind what he's doing. When you start reacting to what he's doing, he gets to call the shots. And for us, especially in a horsemanship class, it's about me calling the shots with him. So when he stops focusing, I'm going to call the shots to him. I'm going to say, you have to get over here. Now this horse has been a little bit brazy off my left spur in my warm-up. I kind of feel that. So I'm going to push him across here, ask him to get over. He's not quite so happy about that. That's okay. So you're going to see me pet this horse a lot. I think when your horse gets frustrated, especially this horse, because he's not a finished horsemanship horse and because he was a pleasure horse, he was used to everything kind of happening slow and soft and relaxed, and there was no rush or anything like that. Now there's a sense of urgency, and he gets worked up. So I've got to pay attention to each horse as an individual. When he comes out here and he's a little bit worked up, I'm just going to stay in. I'm going to stay soft with him, and I'm going to say, hey, bud, it's okay. I know you're worked up. I know it's okay. We're going to work through this, and it's going to be all right. You're going to get to the end of the light of the tunnel, right? It's not going to come out here and just be so scary and intimidating. I'm not going to rush him, okay? So he's got a pace that he can do everything at and be accurate and confident through it. If I push that pace a little too far, he's going to get upset about it. So it's not all bad. I don't mind a horse that tells me this is hard, okay? I will never get after a horse or discipline them for telling me that they're having a hard time or this is new or they're struggling, okay? He is allowed to struggle, okay? I want him to tell me when it gets too hard and when I've pushed too far, okay? I can't dictate to him where I want him to be 99% of the time, okay? I want him to be a willing participant. This is a team, especially a horsemanship class. You guys are a team out there. I want to see a horse and rider that moves together. Some days you go out there and you can push your horse really hard. Some days you can't, and that's okay, okay? If I put my spur in my horse and he gets a little resistant, it is my job as a partner to this horse to help him get through that maneuver and make it look as pretty as possible. We talk all the time about this is a team effort, right? I, as the trainer, have to be on my game to make this horse as good as possible. My rider has to be on their game to be able to maneuver the horse through the pattern, and the horse has got to be on his game to make sure that he's there with us too. If one of those parts and pieces doesn't work, you got to be there to cover for the other. So I've had some horses that will cover for their riders, and I've had some riders that were good enough to cover for their horses. And we want to go back and forth like that. On the perfect day, everyone's on, it comes together, and you have a great ride. And those are the runs that win the Congress, those are the runs that win the world, right? But they go out there, the trainer was on that day, the horse was on that day, and the rider was on that day. And it's really hard to get all those parts and pieces together, right? We can see a racehorse today, too. That's exciting. So, we want to make sure that our horse is with us, and then when he's not, we're there to help him through it, okay? So, it obviously doesn't start in a shank bit and draws, and you're galloping fast, and you're stopping hard, and you're rolling back hard. We increase the speed as he gets accurate. So for my beginner horsemanship people, for my beginner horses, accuracy comes first and then speed, okay? If he can't be accurate through the maneuvers, through everything, we have no business going fast. And I've seen a lot of patterns where they go out there and they're just trying to rush through it and it doesn't look good, okay? Be accurate. You will get more points as an exhibitor from a judge for going out there and turning like this and being really accurate through it, okay? Then if you go out there and you just rush him through it and your horse is swishing his tail and he's stepping out and he's gapping at the mouth and he's mad, okay? I can push this horse pretty hard, but I'm going to lose accuracy, okay? So I want to make sure that I'm accurate first and then add speed to it, okay? So the first thing that all my riders will do is learn how to do these maneuvers, okay? Every horsemanship class has a basic set of maneuvers. You're going to walk, you're going to trot, you're going to lope, you're going to stop and turn around, you're probably going to back up. You're going to do a lope, a straight line, you're going to do a circle, right? We want to do all those maneuvers, okay? So we want to make sure that our horse can do all those things, okay? So we'll warm him up a little bit at the lope here. One thing I want you guys to see, we talked a little bit on chrome, is staying broke loose in his withers. This horse stays really broke loose in his withers. I work a lot in the draws for the horsemanship stuff because I want him to stay down. I want him to stay lifting his back. And I want to try to do one-handed as much as possible. So I've got this horse, he's pretty soft in his face. I can pick up, I can stand him up, drive him through, come around, okay? So I think as a whole, I want to have a horse that, again, operates underneath of me. So the key thing for all these maneuvers is that my horse comes around, he makes move under me, he doesn't leave me, he stands up in his shoulders. Okay? So he's got to be up and with me. If he's rushing on me, it's going to be really hard to do a pretty pattern. Okay? He's got to stay up and with me. It's not a movement class. Okay? It's not a pleasure class, so his movement doesn't so much matter, but it does make for a prettier picture. So I'm probably a little bit more of a stickler than most, and I want to have a pretty horse that moves nice because it makes for a pretty picture. This is a profile-based industry, whether we like it or not. So our horses and our riders, I want to profile well. For me, staying right here in his neck with his face in the bridle and carrying a bit, if you can see that right here, is really, really important. I want a horse that will pack a bridle and stay in my hands. I think that you could almost judge a class based on who kept their horse in the bridle the most. Okay? If you kept your horse in the bridle, 80% of the time, you'll probably find yourself in the top 3 at every weekend show you go to at a core horse level. Okay? So, I want to have a horse that will do that. And I want to have a rider that understands that. If you're doing your pattern, and your horse goes to leave the bridle, and he goes to come undone, and you bump him, and you squeeze your feet, as a judge, I would reward you for that. Okay, and I've talked to a lot of judges around the country that would agree with that. That they will reward you because I would say that rider felt that horse coming undone. And he knew, or she knew, that this would be a better pattern, a prettier pattern if she took her horse and she kept it right here. Okay? So you got to have your horse soft enough to where you can come in, you can ask him to come right here, and he gives his face to you and he lifts his back. Okay? So if we have a horse that does that, then it's my job as a rider to keep him balanced and square through all of this. The opposite side of that, if I left my horse alone and I let him come up like this and leave the bridle and look like this and said, you know what, as a horsemanship rider, I have to stay right here and not touch my horse. Okay? If I did that, then my next maneuver is not going to be very good. Okay? If my next maneuver is not very good, my maneuver after is not going to be very good, my maneuver after that's going to be out of position, and I'm going to be a snowball going down a hill. Okay? So I don't want this horse to snowball, so I will rather take the maybe half a point deduction over there when he started to leave the bridle and I had to do this, then take the half point, 1 point, point and a half over here. Okay? So our goal, our objective is to get our riders to where they know how to keep a horse in the bridle. They can keep him down in their hands right here the whole time, and then they can start to do maneuvers through that so that they learn what a check turn looks like, what a check plus turn looks like, what a plus turn looks like. Okay? And those are all things that we learn, right? All those different transitions, maneuvers, and exercises. We've got to be good at those before we start stringing them into patterns, okay? If we can do a good circle, if we can do a good stop, back up, trot out, where that horse steps right up into it with no extra, then we're more likely to get a higher score, okay?
Jeremy's going to be uploading this live to YouTube too, so you guys can watch it if you missed some of the beginnings.
Yep, sorry. So, I want to have a horse, again, that I can drive up to the bit, okay? So my riders are going to learn that, they're going to learn the transitions, they're going to learn the maneuvers. I want them to go through and be able to warm their horse up like I would. That's probably my goal, right? For you guys that are at home, my goal is to be able to get somebody out here and have the confidence to roll their horse around and know how to maneuver him through all this different stuff. So, it's my dream that all of my riders can come out here and just take their horse and run him through a pattern, run him through a warm-up and have him be with them, okay? So, with the horsemanship stuff, I think too many people get hung up on the position, right? Like I was saying before, I want to see a rider that can maneuver a horse. I don't take my riders out here and focus on sitting perfectly square with this arm right here and worrying about whether this arm is here or here or here. And I think a lot of people worry too much about that. It is probably my biggest pet peeve that riders perch on their horses. Okay, that is probably my biggest pet peeve is I don't want to see you perch out there, right? And by perch, I mean the rider that comes out there and they're super stiff and they're in the right position, but they do not have any feel for their horse and they don't know what's going on underneath of them and they can't maneuver him through a pattern, okay? First thing first, a rider has got to be able to maneuver a horse. From there, we work on their position because their position is individual to each rider. If I have a rider that's a long torso, it's going to be a different spot for them with their arm than someone with a short torso, right? If their arm's comfortable right here, I want the rider to be where they're balanced and comfortable, not so much where they saw someone ride that won at the weekend show the weekend before, right? Because when you can maneuver a horse through a pattern, that's what it's about, right? It's a check plus for that maneuver. It's a check for this maneuver. It's a score for that maneuver, right? It's not just a fourth place for where she sat. Okay? How she sat through the maneuver is a pretty small part of it, right? So, if you go out there and your arm wants to be over here, and you can get through a maneuver correctly, it doesn't matter if your arm was right here, perfectly square to your shoulder, and you couldn't get through it. That person that has their arm right here is going to beat you, or they should, right? Because they were able to maneuver their horse through all the different patterns. So what we call that in the end, once you learn how to maneuver a horse and once you learn how to keep a horse underneath of you and square, is style, right? That's each rider's individual style when they go through and they have their arm here or here or here or like this, okay? That's style. As long as you are somewhere in the vicinity and your shoulders are square and your hips are square and your feet are square so that you can maneuver your horse well, this is style, okay? It's going to be the same thing for Eck, it's going to be the same thing for showmanship. That the trends get changed as we go, so that maybe the year before somebody won the showmanship and they had their moonwalk on, right? That was a really popular thing a couple years ago. It was like this weird, bouncy, like really strange looking trot in the showmanship. And someone won like that. So then everybody said, that's what wins, we have to do that. And it's not the case. They just had a good pattern that day, right? All three of those pillars came together. The trainer was on, the horse was on, the rider was on. They put together a good pattern and they won that day. So it wasn't like the judges said, you have to have that bouncy trot, we love that. They said, you have to put together a good pattern, okay? And that girl put together a good pattern, and that just happened to be the way she trotted, okay? So don't get hung up on what the judge thinks. If you go out there and you are solid, and you can maneuver your horse, and you kept it in the bridle, you've done your job, okay? Every judge's opinion is going to change as to where your arm should be, but the one thing we can probably all agree on is that this is what a good turn looks like. This is what a good circle looks like, okay? There's no denying what a good circle looks like, okay? No judge is going to go out there and be like, okay, I want to see a good round circle like this, and then the next judge say, this was perfect, this is what I want to see. We all know what a circle is. We all know what a straight line is, okay? So get that stuff right, and then focus on the little things, okay? Focus on the big picture first, get as close as you can, then work on the little things, okay? So, I talk a lot about, in my program, about the theory of everything because I think that's a bigger piece that maybe people don't get, because I'm sure we've all had lessons where their trainer is like, keep your arm right there, don't move, you gotta stay square. I wanna see a rider that's soft and balanced. If you saw us last time doing the pleasure stuff where I went to move Macy's leg and it was stiff as a board, I want my riders to be loose up here, okay? You have to move with your horse. You guys are a team. And whether you're doing a horsemanship class, an equitation class, or a showmanship class, you guys are dancing together, okay? If I don't turn with him, if I go to maneuver and I'm hung out over here, look what happened to his turn, right? He was turning really good until I shifted my weight. Look, I'll sit square again. I'll leave the frame. So if I sit square and I follow across and I sit into this stirrup right here, my horse can get around and be balanced and move with me, okay? If I get out of whack, my horse cannot move with me. So if I go to turn, I'll take his turn, and his little pivot right here, I'm sitting really good, sitting square. If I get hung out over here, look what happened. Immediately, all that I changed was my seat, right? And my horse immediately got confused as to where he was supposed to go next, okay? You have to be able to sit in the stirrup, follow your horse across, show him where to go next, okay? It is that subtle, because he's given me a piggyback ride. I'm sitting on his back. That little shift of weight changed everything about this way this horse moved, right? All of a sudden, he was not sure what to do, okay? So that's what we talk about with the pleasure stuff too. You've got to stay balanced and square. If you're not balanced and square, your horse is going to have a really hard time getting underneath of you to come around and make these maneuvers happen where they're supposed to happen, okay? So we've got to get to where we keep our weight balanced and square between our stirrups. One of the exercises we do for that is we will stand up in our stirrups like this, and I'll have my riders sink up and down through their heels, okay? So I want to come out here, I want to sink through my heels down low, stretch up tall, sink down, stretch up, sink down, stretch up, okay? We will run our riders through shoulder, body, hip, okay? Those three positions are really, really important. We've got to move with our horse. So our horses are broke loose. Spur forward means shoulder, spur in the middle means body, spur back means hip, okay? With those three things, I want my riders to understand what they're supposed to get. So I do a lot of, like, I guess you'd call them drill sergeant stuff, right, Case? That I'll be a drill sergeant and I'll say, spur forward means what?
Turn.
Turn, shoulder, right? Spur in the middle means what?
Side cross and
Ribs,
over.
right? Spur back means
Hips.
hips, right? So if I said hips, your spur would go where?
Backwards.
Back. If I said ribs, your spur would go where?
In the middle.
Middle. If I said shoulders, your spur would go where?
Forward.
So ribs,
Middle.
hips,
Back.
shoulders.
Forward.
All right, forward.
Is it scratching out anymore?
Is it quality good?
Someone said, I wish it didn't scratch every 5 seconds.
I know. Me too, guys.
Is it
I'm
a
gonna
little
upload it, I
better?
promise.
Let me get. Is it a little better now, or is it still really bad?
It's just gonna go in and out.
We'll upload it.
We'll upload it. But you can listen to me, right? You guys can hear me okay? Everybody hears me all right?
I think so, yeah.
All right. So we'll run through that, and I want to run through that, a walk, a jog, and a lope, right? So if you're jogging your horse around, I want my riders to know if I said spurs forward,
Shoulders.
shoulders. If I said spurs middle,
Ribs.
if I said spurs back,
Hips.
hips,
Back.
shoulders,
Forward.
middle,
Ribs.
ribs,
Middle.
shoulders,
Forward.
hips,
Back.
hips,
Back.
back,
Hips.
shoulders.
Forward.
Hey, she got them all right. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right, everybody clap for Casey. Nice job, Casey. So we want to take our horses and do that, right? So my riders, without thinking about it, that's how we do it quick, okay? I think when you start throwing things quick at your riders, they have to understand, like, really deeply, without thinking about it, what's going to happen next. So if I run my people through a pattern, it's going to be stop, trot, 180, lope, stop, back up, left lead, stop, 180 right, back up, lope off, stop, back up. Okay, we do a ton of stuff like that to where they mess up a lot, right? Our riders screw up a ton, but they have to think quickly, okay? I want this stuff to come naturally to them so that they don't have to spend a lot of time in no man's land where they're like, wait, lope, what spur was that? Or turn, wait, what spur do I go and where does it go? I want everybody to come out here and be able to think quick, and so it's instinctive, okay? And you'll see that when we go to do showmanship too. The way I give my lessons is I want this to be instinct. It has to be automatic. If you're spending time thinking about where your spur has to go when you stop and you turn, you are never going to be able to stay focused on where your position is, or if your horse is down in the bridle, or anything like that. And that is something that you can work on at home. I had some people ask, what are some ways that an amateur can practice at home if they can't get out to ride their horse a ton? Well, the mental aspect of it is probably the most important part, and it does not require a horse, right? That kind of stuff does not require a horse to come out here and say, okay, where does my spur go when I want to move this piece, right? If I want to move my hips, it goes back here. If I want to move my body, it goes right here. If I want to move my shoulders, it goes right here. So for me, our riders ride with their toes tipped out. The angle of your foot should match the angle of your leg, okay? So for us, we wrap our legs around our horse. So I want to have good close contact all the way through my legs. So I'll move up here so you guys can see that without getting drift on. So if you look at my leg position, I want, is that close enough? Everybody see that?
That's good. Yep.
All right, we will be able to see it when we upload this. So I want to have my heel underneath my hip.
It's a little dark.
A little dark.
Yeah. Just go into the light.
It's a little light a little bit.
Underneath
There
the
you go.
grip. Perfect.
That's good.
Okay. So I want to have my heel in line with my hip, in line with my shoulder. And that hasn't so much changed. I don't think that rule has changed at all. When I started riding, when I was a kid, it was the trend to keep your toes in, like this, and you squeezed up here. Okay? That, for me, is so very wrong when it comes to working with your horse and saying, I want to be a good partner and a good participant with my horse. I want to be a good dance partner with my horse. This is constricting. Okay? It kicks my heel this way. It takes my spur away from my horse's side. It does not allow me to be a good rider. So I want to have my hips opened up, have my thigh at about a 45-degree angle, and have my toe at the same 45. So that my heels can stay down, my lower leg stays close to my horse, and I come through here and I can lift my spurs up into my horse. Okay? So with that position in mind, I'm right here. I should be pretty close to in line right there, and I want this to be really comfortable. Okay? How did that get comfortable? We exaggerated a ton. Okay? So when we practice, don't go out there and get in this position and be like, Too close?
You're headless.
I'm headless? That's okay. They don't need to see my face. Okay?
There you go.
So,
Perfect.
if I go out there and I'm not comfortable in this position, it's going to be everybody, right? Every rider that comes in here is not comfortable in this position from the get-go. So we have our riders practice back here, okay? I want you to exaggerate. So I will have them come back here. My heel is way behind my hip. My toe is 90 degrees to my body. And I want you to be able to ride like that. Because then you can relax into this and I'm locked in here, okay? With having my lower leg close, I can feel if my horse gets a little out of whack in his ribs or if he starts to fall down, okay? If he starts to fall down, I can correct it with a little bit of heel, a little bit of calf, and a little bit of spur if I need to, and I can add those parts and pieces in slowly. If my legs are out here and I'm not close to my horse, I have a long way to go before I bring my spur into my horse's side. So I'm going to pick up speed, right? So my spur's going to hit him hard and fast. He's not going to be ready for it. And I'm going to be late to the party, okay? If I have to make a big correction, I'm out. So for us, it is much easier to make a little correction when you start to feel it get wrong than make a huge correction when it's very, very wrong, okay? And the only way to do that is to stay close to your horse, keep everything connected to him, and be right there with him, okay? If you aren't connected to your horse to where you can stay right here, then everything you do is a big maneuver and the judges are going to see it, okay? As a judge, the best pattern is the one where that horse's and the rider's cues are just imperceptible, okay? Where it was invisible and all of a sudden that horse loped right exactly when he was supposed to, and he did everything that he was supposed to do without any hesitation, without any like, okay, we're going to lope now and we do all this stuff, okay? So keep your toes turned out so you can keep your heels close. The other reason why we do that is because if you don't turn your toes out, my calf connects with this horse right here when I sit like this. If my toe is straight, and I connect with my calves, and then I bring my spur in, look where my spur actually hits, right? I'm a good 3 inches behind where my calf is. So how can I be accurate in my horse? How can he know if he has very distinct shoulder, body, hip buttons, and my calf comes on in his body, and because of the length of my spur, it hits his hip? How's he supposed to know which piece to move, right? So if you turn your toe out, now my spur hits in line with my calf, and they're going to ask for the same piece together, okay? So now my spur reinforces my calf, and it lets me make maneuvers underneath of me, okay? And I'm really, really accurate through it. So it was just a big thing when I was a kid. You squeezed up here. I remember doing the ride-a-buck class where you had your dollar bill right here, and you were just squeezing, you were holding it tight. That really should be down by your calves, right? Because that locks me in underneath my horse, it keeps me really square, and it keeps me going. Okay? So we want to be sitting on our horse square, shoulders square, body square. Okay? So with that in mind, we run through all the maneuvers to sit squarely on our horse. Okay? So I want my riders able to move their legs. I want them able to twist their body. Okay? When I go to do a turn, I'm going to twist into it. That's automatically going to put my right leg up by his shoulder. It's automatically going to put my right rein on his neck. And it's automatically going to set me up to look ahead through my pattern. I focus a ton on eyes with my riders, right, Casey? We worry so much about where you're looking because with these horses, when they get broke, if you're sitting square, he should go where I look, and that move should just be this, and he should head over there, okay? So moving my horse around, sitting in that stirrup is going to help him out. It's going to give him all the lead time that he needs so that I can be square through everything, okay? And that's true whether we're walking, trotting, or loping. And obviously turning, it's huge. Okay? So you want to look, go into that stirrup, have your horse follow you. Okay? If I go too far, my horse is not going to be able to get there. So I want to be able to sit square between him. You can see this horse rock up over his hips. He leans back into it. He picks his shoulders up. He's ready to go on and do another maneuver. Okay? So without going into too many details, especially with the internet being bad today, I don't want to go out there and ride around where you guys won't be able to see it very well. So we're going to have to stay out for a different clinic. But this body position stuff, get up here, be able to stretch your leg up, be able to take your legs and do this when you're riding. If you can't do this when you're riding around, you are squeezing up top. So I'll ride close here so you can kind of see that. If I'm jogging him around, I want to be able to take my legs off my horse and have him stay underneath of me and not be unbalanced here and be scared. Okay? I'm going to push down into my stirrups to lift my leg off this horse. My upper leg does not squeeze. Okay? I stay tight and connected through my lower leg. With that in mind, we have to have a horse that will stay with us on our spurs, right? If every time I touch him with my feet, he squirts forward, it's going to be really hard to ride down there. Okay? That goes back to the foundations of Western pleasure. This horse does not know to go that way when my spurs come in. He knows to come this way. If my horse can do that, he's doing it right. Okay? I think it's 6:30 already, isn't it?
Yeah.
Holy cow, I can talk a lot.
Yes, you can.
So I don't want to go too long because the internet sucks and I'll never be able to upload it to YouTube. But if you guys have questions, please type them out. I wanted to be able to do more, but I figured with the storm it would be kind of bad weather to do it. We wouldn't have a good signal. So hopefully the next time we do this, we can get a little better weather. We can open these doors up and be a lot more clear for you guys. But please send me your questions. We love it. We love answering the questions. Am I too close again?
Yeah.
I'm bad at this.
Perfect.
For the next clinic, we're probably going to do showmanship. I think next Tuesday we'll do some showmanship stuff. I think that'll be really fun. What's that? At probably 3 o'clock. Send me what you guys think, and let me know what time works best. I don't know how many viewers have we had. You know?
Around like 40. We're at 37
40,
right now.
yeah. So kind of let me know what time works best for you guys, and we'll play around with it, and we'll try some different time zones and things like that to figure out what time works for everyone to get on, so that you can ask your live questions, right? Because I like those a lot. But we'll do some showmanship next time. We'll try for 3 o'clock Eastern probably on Tuesday, next Tuesday. We'd love to keep doing these. I'm getting the Facebook page set up, so please go on there, like and share the video. That helps us a ton. The more people we can help out, the better this is, I think. Hopefully you guys all learned something today, took something away from this. And like I said, send me your questions. I just started a group on the Facebook page. It's a training discussions page. Apply to join the group, and we'll have a little bit of discussion going through that. I think that'd be a lot of fun, okay? And then, like I said, we don't charge for these guys. We do this for love of the game, right? We love helping you guys. If you guys want to support, there's a link in the discussion for my page, my PayPal page. Send something if you want to. If you don't, that's okay. If you didn't learn anything, don't worry about it, right? If you guys learned something, help us out so we can keep doing this. Love it so much. Thank you. We will be back next Tuesday.
We're excited. See ya.